Well, I still have via Zoom from United States, former Assistant Director of Department of State Services, Dennis Samakri, and in the studio, political analyst, right activist, and executive member, Joint Action Front, Achike Chude. Let me come to you, Mr. Makri. What are the possible implications of this back and forth on the Nnamdi Kanu's matter?
Well, thank you for that question. You see, these are legal issues. And I think in a way I could say sub judice. The courts have ruled and there's an appeal going on. So I don't think there is anything that even the DSS could do about it because they are just custodial. And if there is anything, I think the Ministry of Justice or the Attorney General is the best person to shed more light on the back and forth. So I think there is not much to talk about it.
All right, let me come to you, Achike. Do you think the appeals court decision to stop the implementation of the ruling is best in this circumstance?
Again, I cannot claim to be wiser than the courts and that the judges that took that decision. But obviously, they took that decision on the basis of the case that was being made, to that effect by the federal government, obviously this is a matter that has interested the public for quite some time because of the nature of the matter. Bringing Nnamdi Kanu back to Nigeria, and then the whole controversy over Nnamdi Kanu and the IPOB and all that. And the fact that the court came down hard on the federal government for the whole processes of bringing Nnamdi Kanu back to Nigeria. And obviously the Nigerian government did not see any serious reasons why Nnamdi Kanu should be released, and that's why they went to court, because for as long as they did not have any court ruling supporting the continuous incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu, the government itself was under trial, and so I think they can breathe a sigh of relief for now, in the sense that they can always claim that the continuous detention of Nnamdi Kanu at this particular point in time is on the basis of the decision of the court. And so people are no longer saying, look, you are refusing to obey order, because obviously, regardless of the position of the Attorney General, he only has an opinion to give with regards to this. It's only the judgment of the court that can be very, very definitive. And so they are not in a position to the court, once the court makes a ruling, must be complied with. So they were under pressure to release Nnamdi Kanu before now. Now I think, like I said, that pressure has eased off slightly because the court has given them some relief. But at the same time, the court, knowing the exigency of the situation, how urgent it is, because it has to do with fundamental rights of Nnamdi Kanu, the court is saying that they are going to write also to the Supreme Court so that Supreme Court can give it expedited, hearing, in order not to continue to violating Nnamdi Kanu's right, if that is what the court decides is happening.
All right, thank you so much. But let's go to our final story for tonight. Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, has said she was never consulted over the Central Bank of Nigeria plans to redesign the Naira note. The minister disclosed this when she appeared before the Senate Committee on Finance at the National Assembly to defend budget estimates for her ministry. Mrs. Zainab told lawmakers she was unaware of such plans by the CBN and got the window of the information after the announcement was made by the Apex Bank. She acknowledged that while the CBN may be trying to control rising inflation, there are challenges and consequences involved. The minister also added that the policy may be a well-conceived one, but the timing, going by realities on ground, as Naira may fall to as low as 1,000 Naira to a US dollar before the 31st of January 2023. Take a listen.
We were not consulted. It was an announcement that we heard. Part of the reasons that was advocated is that's one of the ways to mop up liquidity to manage inflation. But there are also consequences that we're also looking at. What will the consequences be? There will be some benefits, but there will be some challenges. And I don't know whether the monetary authorities have actually looked very closely as what the consequences are and then how they can be mitigated.
All right, Mr. Makri, let me come to you now. Looking at it broadly, what does the planned redesigning of the Naira stand to achieve? Can it help in stabilizing the nation's economy? Mr. Makri, are you there? All right, let me come to you now. What do you make of this idea of redesigning the Naira note? Do you think it will help stabilize the nation's economy?
Well, I don't know. You know, there are different, people have taken different positions over this particular issue. And even among economists, while some are lauding it and saying, look, it's a good it's a step in the right direction, that it will have a way of stabilizing the Naira itself. Others have said, no, it's going to cause more problems. But you know what the CBN has told us is that, in fact, one of the major reasons, or the major reason that they have given us for this is that there are over 3 trillion Naira in the hands of Nigeria that should be within the banking system. And it is not exactly so right now. And so mopping it up, mopping all of these monies, would also help with some positivity within, the economy. The Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I think through the DG, says, of course, has a very negative reaction, over that it's going to have some negative impact on the economy. While Nasima is also saying, commending it, that it's a good thing. So we don't really know. We can't say for sure. But what we know is that the nation is in a very terrible crisis. We have a very serious problems with inflation, and all the other economic dynamics really are in the red. And so I am not sure that, but I don't see how the redesigning of the Naira, for instance, is going to help to show up the value of the currency. It doesn't make sense, because we are still talking about an economy that is import, oriented. 90% of, most of the products.
I just want to quickly have your view on the idea of Minister of Finance saying she was not carried along.
No,
what can you say about that?
I'm not surprised. It speaks volume about the dysfunctionality, in the government. It says a lot about the lack of cooperation and synergy between, government officials. This is the Minister of Finance. The economy, has, it's all about, there's no way, that the matters of the economy will not affect the Ministry of Finance. Everything that they do is also about the economy itself. And so when you have a monumental decision like this take place without even the minister being consulted, so that at least they could also make their own input, their own, thinking with regards to this, then it tells you that there is something absolutely wrong in, the way they are doing things in government. The minute the CBN governor says, look, I have the right, I do not have to consult with anybody. Once the president gives the approval, then that is done. But still, I think it's a very, it speaks volume about the situation of things, that the Ministry of Finance is not involved in it.
All right, thank you very much. We are almost out of time. And also want to thank the former Assistant Director of Department of State Services, Dennis Amakri. We lost him at the cost of the show, but I'm grateful for having you